Ladies and gentlemen, the three of us are back together again. We got another edition of the Sick Podcast, Talking Titans. Obviously, a lot of stuff's been going on between Super Bowl, Jarett being in Vegas, me doing work, this, that, and the other thing. But at the end of the day, we all find our way back here. And we're back, and we got a lot to talk about. So let's have some fun and start me up, Juliana. Let's go.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Talking Titans.
Ladies and gentlemen, 94 yards. Touchdown, Titans. He is the baddest man in the NFL, and he just took her to the house.
The sickest Tennessee Titans podcast.
Sick!
It's gonna be sick.
Welcome back to another edition of the Sick Podcast, Talking Titans. As always, I'm joined by Jarett and Vin. Jarett and Vin, thank you guys for holding it down last week. Haven't seen you, Jarett, since you've been back from the trip. To say I'm speechless to see the things you did is an understatement. And boy, oh boy, talk about taking a giant leap in the media game in a few short days, man. You covered all of the bases and gave us some content that was shared throughout the entire fan base and beyond. So first and foremost, Jarett, well done, my man, and happy to have you back. And,
happy to be back.
I'm happy to be back as well. Let's jump right into it. So far, since I've left off, we've had numerous new coaching signings, more rumors about who might be staying, who might be leaving, and everything in between. But something that I know, if nothing else, Vin has been egging for, as well as me. We finally let go our strength and conditioning coach. A firing you would have thought would have happened many moons ago with the injuries this team undergoes. But Vin, I'm sure it's safe to say you're pretty thrilled, even though he was a Paisan, but he wasn't.
I was just going to say, it's bittersweet. You never want to see a fellow Paisan lose his job, but it is what it is. It's no hard feelings. I don't doubt the guy's knowledge or anything like that. I'm sure it's a combination of Carthon wanting his own guys in there, as well as the fact that this team has struggled to stay healthy. It seems like the last, 3 years, and could it be due to a lot of different things? Sure. But at the rate it was happening at, you couldn't help but question the strength and conditioning staff, the athletic training staff. I brought it up on podcasts years or so ago. I forget, with one of the guests, maybe it was Jim Wyatt or TD when they first came on. Why aren't they being looked at? Because you look at teams throughout the years that seem to stay healthy and teams that don't, and that's fair. But the way in which we were getting hurt at a historic rate was just, you know what I mean? So it is what it is. We did have another hire, though, that I liked, former player. I believe Colt Anderson. He was our rival for quite some time with the Colts. Coincidentally, I believe that's his name. If we get a name check on him,
Colt Anderson, special teams coordinator.
I was gonna say I remember him when he played for the Colts. But I'm excited to bring him in. Another Callahan guy. It seems he was under his staff, but a player who is a former player who seems like he's young and he's hungry, and hopefully it works out. Because
wait a sec,
special team. What?
I'm sorry to cut you off, Finn. I'm looking at this post right now from the Titans, from Jim Wyatt an hour ago, 2 hours ago. And correct me if I'm wrong, but there is a new hire of the Tennessee Titans, and his name is, and I quote, Scott Bucks.
No, it's Fuchs or something like that. It's not Fuchs.
Huh?
It's not Fuchs.
Come on. It's got to be. It's got to be. It's got to be the CH.
Somebody's going to comment on YouTube, because they always comment on us. We are not grammatically correct at all. But F-U-C-H.
Oh, my God. We're never, ever
F-U-C-H. It's got to be Fuchs or something. I don't know.
I don't know.
He's got a hell of a track record at Kansas.
Hey, listen, if it's Fuchs, that's just as good.
Maybe Furman. Yeah, we got to get the pronunciation.
Scotty Fuchs, baby. Let's go.
Origin, please. Could you use it in a sentence? What's he coaching for us?
He's the assistant offensive line coach. Assistant offensive
line coach.
He's going to be in there with the GOAT, Bill Callahan. So for him, he's got 30 years of knowledge in football, college, so and in the NFL. So I mean, Obviously, they've seen something in them. And listen, if they're going to build in the draft with the line, or they're going to build in free agency with the line, I mean, you got two great minds in the offensive line room, and that's what we needed. And that's what I vouched for this whole offseason so far. And so far, they've done it with bringing veteran, offensive-minded line coaches into this team. So now it's just building the team now with free agency.
Scotty's been fucking for a long time, it looks like, but
where were we before that, though? Oh, Cole Anderson. Yeah, special teams.
Anderson.
Another area of another phase of the game where we struggled this year. We actually got our punter's leg broken on a special teams.
Mike Vrabel did actually, but that's all right.
Well, either way, some new blood in there, some young, hungry former player. So let's see how it works out. But yeah, I mean, I was actually going to text in the group chat our defense coordinator. Our strength and conditioning coach that got let go because he looked like Tony's bodyguard after he got shot, that bald young kid that rode with him. So don't doubt the guy's knowledge. Obviously, clearly looks like he works out a little bit. And I'm sure he'll latch on elsewhere. But, I mean,
the Giants.
Yeah, the injuries that this team had was, undeniable. You can't really argue against it. And I called it a while ago. Maybe the training staff needs a change, and it looks like it finally is. So another chapter turned in Tennessee Titan football.
That guy also looked like he could have extorted the Titans to get that job. So
he very well could have. We got to get where he's from. He's got to be somewhere from the tri-state.
Yeah, definitely not a West Coast guy.
He came back to the Giants as a strength and
conditioning coach. They hired him already.
They hired him already. It's the New York Titans both ways with the Giants and Jets.
He's already getting his lunch over at the Lindbergh's Bakery already.
Did they hire what's his name? Our Shane Bowen. Did they hire him?
They hired Shane Bowen. Tim Kelly went to the Jets. Oh no, yeah, Tim Kelly went to the Jets. So was Todd Downing. But who cares of all of that? Let's argue, since we do that best on here, since all of us are very entertaining. We call ourselves the entertaining podcast. The Titans didn't re-sign, or not re-sign. I'm sorry, extend Derrick Henry, Sean Mumford-Bunting, Al Shire, Derrick Henry. None of those guys were offered an extension yet. What's your thought on that? Because for me, I honestly think they should extend the King. He may test it. I don't think it's going to happen. I think I still hope and pray that he is a Titan for 2 more years, maybe 3 more years. I'm okay giving him to $9 to $10 million. I don't care what you guys say or anybody else says in the chat. He is that back. He's run 1,500 yards on a shit offensive line. I'm not saying we have to run the ball 30 times, but his presence alone with Tajay Spears in the backfield with two running back sets or anything, we could still throw the ball with Will Levis. I'm not saying let's still be the ground and pound offense. We're not. They had Brian Callahan had Joe Mixon in Cincinnati. They did wonders over there. They had 2,000-yard receivers. He was a 1,000-yard back. I mean, why not?
You need backs that are multidimensional though, unfortunately, and he's not a multidimensional back. That's why I don't think he just can't fit in this offense if we're going to take the next step, because number one, Tajay Spears, in my opinion, we've seen at this point could potentially be just as good of a runner as Derrick Henry right now, and he can also catch the ball. So now you're talking about giving a guy $9 or $10 million when you have another guy on the team that can do one thing, fairly arguably the same, and can also do something better that Derrick can't do. So obviously, if you need a yard, there's nobody on the planet you want more than Derrick Henry. That goes without saying. That will never change until he takes his last breath. Even when he's in his late 70s, I'll want him for a yard. But with that being said, I mean, $9-10 million for a 30-year-old Derrick Henry just cannot happen, Jarett. It cannot. And it's unfortunate. And when he goes to another team, it could potentially be a team that we despise, and that's going to be really another tough pill to swallow. But we can't spend that money just to keep him in two-tone blue. There's too many pieces of this puzzle that we still need to fill, and that's going to cost some money. So that would just be my opinion. Vin?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, as much as I love Derrick Henry, we've brought it up before. We'll even have to change the intro to this show, okay, if we let go of Henry. But I don't see it happening. I see us going in a new direction, a new brand of Titans football. I hope he doesn't end up with the Baltimore. Pretty devastating. It is what it is. I don't think he's back. No hard feelings. I wish him nothing but the best. I just hope he doesn't end up with a team like the Eagles, who are in my backyard, who already have A.J. Brown, or a team like the Ravens, a rival. But I don't think they bring Henry back. I still think he can command some money. Like Sal said, he might get in that 8 to 10 million range, maybe for a year, 2 years. And I think that we just need to allocate our assets in another direction. The fact that Rand found Tajay in the 3rd round makes me believe that he could find someone else in the mid round to complement him, or we go with Gus Edwards. Jarett and I talked about it last week. Gus Edwards or Dante Foreman on a cheap 1-year deal, but Henry's brand of football is not what the Titans are seeming like they want to do in the future. So,
we touched on that last week.
Bring him back for 1 year, $5 million. Sure, you know what I mean.
He's never going to take that.
That's never going to happen.
Exactly. So it's not a pipe dream at this point, but for the fact that I still think he can command money, and the fact that we're going in another direction identity-wise, I just see it as the inevitable breakup. I mean, listen, very, very few players play on one team their whole career. Very few. And he's been here for, 8 years now? So
7.
We had I think 8 years. I think he's going into year 9. But either way, he's been a career Titan. Wish him nothing but the best. Wherever he goes, I won't ever wish bad on him. I won't ever unfollow him on any social media platform. He had the opportunity to test free agency really a couple of years ago, and I think took a team-friendly deal when he came here for 4 years, $60 million, considering the year he came off of. So wish him nothing but the best, but unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be intense.
We talked about this last week, Vin, where I brought that up again because I'm going to change, and you guys may change when it gets closer to free agency and there's rumors. But I may say, you know what? I agree with you next week. Right now, I don't know. I said yes last week. I wanted to go after like an Estime or a Blake Corum in the draft, maybe. I mean, just looking at the list of running backs that are available: J.K. Dobbins, DeAndre Swift, Tony Pollard, Zach Moss, Zeke, Singletary, Hunt. Like, those are the lists that we're working with right now. So nothing's flashy there besides Derrick Henry screams to me. So that's why I think possibly they go draft. I don't know if I want that yet. I said I want to re-sign him. I'm going to still stick with that. But now we're moving on from that now. There's hella linemen out there now that I actually did some research there. The Miami Dolphins have a ton of offensive linemen that are in free agency right here. Robert Hunt, that TD came up and said that he would love to sign him. Now, if you plug him in at right guard, you can go after that. You can go after a Trent Brown at right tackle instead of NWI. I mean, not NWI, MPF anymore. If we go all at left tackle, you solidify that left-hand side of the offensive line, and you go after like a Keon Coleman in the 2nd round. You have a Lad McConkey from Georgia in the 2nd round too. So, I mean, there's a lot of ways that we can move here on the offensive line. Do you guys think we're going to build thoroughly with the veteran coaches through free agency, or you think we're going to really tackle the alt and John Powers, Johnson in the 2nd round, and build in the draft and go young?
Well, one thing I want to just touch on, one last thing about Henry before we move on. One thing we all know about Derrick Henry, he does not mince words, obviously. He's a man of few words, and the words that he does speak are typically pretty important. I don't think he does that speech at the end of that game against Houston if he had any intentions of coming back. So in my mind, he's already gone, and that's the only reason he would do that, because he's not that kind of guy. So for him to do that unannounced, I think that's it. But moving forward, as far as offensive line is concerned, I think Carthon and Callahan are I think they're genuinely right now looking at it as a best case or best player available situation. All right, because we saw last year Rand Carthon had no issues taking the best tackle available, even though we turned him into a fucking guard. But anyway, we took Skoronski. He was the best player available at that spot, or at least that's what we thought. And I think we're going to do that the same way. If lightning strikes and somehow, some way, a guy like Malik Neighbors or a guy like, Marvin Harrison ain't gonna, but let's just say a guy like Malik Neighbors falls to 7, a guy like Romeo Dunze falls to 7, and the other kid, Alu, are gone, they're gonna take them. If if all of them are available, I do think they're gonna value O-line. I do. I think that's really what they want, and I think they're gonna shoot their shot really heavy for T. Higgins. And now that you get Hopkins involved with the innuendos and the Instagram, like, it could happen, man. These are human beings at the end of the day. If they want something bad enough, they're going to get it. So that's what I'm hanging my hat on.
I mean, that's going to be a trade. And like I said, I talked to Adam Rank in Vegas, and he said like people were crushing the Bears for trading for who the hell was the guy again from
Chase
Washington?
Claypool?
No, the Washington edge rusher.
Oh, Sweat?
Yeah, they traded a second round
Sweat?
pick for him. Yeah, and he had 6 sacks with them. He's like, you go into this year's draft and you drafted Montez Sweat in the second round. That's what you're losing. So, like, gaining that, like, when you say go after T. Higgins, if they tag him or if they don't tag, like, you have to trade for him. So, what's the assets that you're giving up?
There are assets. They're there. I mean, you've got. I mean, again, do I see his value being high? No, but we're talking about a guy that we're trading for a year's worth, because it would be obviously a tag and trade. So it's not going to have to be a king's ransom realistically. So I think potentially you could get away with like Traylon Burks and maybe a third rounder, because it's a 1-year trade. It's not like he's got 5 years on his deal. I mean, it's basically just a rental until, assuming we're going to be able to hold on to him long term. So, that could potentially, he's still a guy that's very young, not a lot of film, obviously injuries concerned. I obviously am throwing in the towel on him. I did last month, so I'll be fine with it. But there's potential. There's plenty of assets that we have. Everyone always wants to talk about, draft picks are their number one form of capital when it comes to trades. And we're a little bit inadequate in that department right now. But, that can't be fixed quickly. These GMs have a lot of knowledge, and we've seen many a times before how quickly these rosters switch up in a matter of days. Like the Eagles, they literally went from a absolute disaster to a contender in one offseason. And a lot of those players were free agent assets.
Houston's the same thing as last year.
You just need the right people. You need the right scouts. You need the right man in the general manager chair. And in my humble opinion, so far everything they've done, I can't argue with. So we got a lot of reasons to be excited. But I think O-line in their mind, and there's so many benefits too with the contract deal. Having them young, getting them on a low salary until they get the big money. We already have one tackle under a rookie contract for multiple years, so it makes a lot of sense. But you guys know, obviously, I'm going to be absolutely insanely happy if we do go receiver at 7. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I do think if there is a trade situation for T. Higgins, I don't think, Sal, they would do it unless they already basically had a long-term deal in place, because they wouldn't give up that capital for a 1-year rental. And I think T. Higgins would be completely fine with signing here to a big deal, because our boy Jarett Schefter on the mic, got it from the man himself. So, but I also tend to agree with you. It could be a Traylon Burks thing. They throw him in there with some draft capital. They could make it happen. Like you said, if it's a mutual thing between the Bengals and the Titans where they want him and the Bengals, want to tag him, but T. Higgins is unhappy with that and wants to go elsewhere, I think nowadays professional athletes seem to get their ways. So we'll see, though. Either way, I think eventually he ends up here. But as far as the draft, I think it has to be tackle. I really do. Whether it's Ola or whether it's Joe Alt, I think it has to be tackle. Him and Skoronski protecting Levis's blindside for the next decade. In my opinion, it's a no-brainer. It seems like both prospects are pretty close to perfect. Can't miss, really. And the receiver position is pretty deep. We can get your boy Coleman in the second round, maybe. We can get your boy who else is up there?
Lad McConkey.
Xavier Leggett is going to be a second-round pick, probably. The kid
my dad loves that kid.
Yeah, he's someone that kind of reminds me of somebody else whose name we won't bring up. But
Drew Bennett?
No, not Drew Bennett. I was going to say a big body, physical type receiver that can get.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the prospects for the wide receivers coming out. I mean, it's absolutely loaded. Troy Franklin's out there, 6'3", 190 pounds.
McConkey's a white kid, right?
Yeah,
McConkey. Yeah, he's crazy, man. He's nuts at Georgia, and he's also 5'11", 190 pounds. But like, you want the big body receivers? I mean, you got Tez Walker.
That Texas kid is big, right?
Xavier Worthy.
Xavier Worthy 6'1", but Mitchell, what he's talking about, Mitchell from Texas, he's 6'4", 200 pounds. So I mean, there's a lot of
Doomsday's tall too, isn't he?
Yeah, he's
6'3", 215.
Well, I've heard plenty of people. I'm not the biggest college football fan, but plenty of my friends are. And I know Jarett is a huge college football buff. Some people saying O'Dunes could be just as good, if not better, than Marvin Harrison Jr.
I said that to you guys before. I think he's going to come out.
Not that.
Yeah, I think he's going to come out as probably one of the best wide receivers in this class. Everyone's falling in love with the Marvin Harrison Jr. Name, but when you really look at it and you throw the tape, Rome, he fucking gets open. He runs all the routes, and he high points, and he's strong at the point of the catch.
Yeah.
And so is Neighbors. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from Marvin Harrison Jr. The kid's electric, but if you're looking at it, I mean, you got three, and you throw Coleman in here. I'm a Florida State fan. I'm not even saying, Coleman, what he's listed as number 4, but these are 1A, 1B, 1C, and 1D. These guys are game changers. 6'4", 220. I mean, that's your typical wide receiver in the NFL who can high point the ball. Throw on Keon Coleman's tape, and you guys will be like, eye flashy. Like, man, if we go Joe Alt and Keon Coleman's there in the second round, you're gonna be happy as hell.
I've heard his name, so that says something right there.
Either way, though, whichever order it's in, receiver, offensive line, receiver, I think those are the two positions we need to attack most. Maybe cornerback as well. We'll see, but I lean from everyone that I'm hearing that this Joe Alt is,
can't miss.
Can't miss. Who knows if he'll be there at 7? I think the Chargers might take him at I think 5 to protect their investment in Herbert. Who knows though? You never know. Would I be mad at, let's say, Neighbors or Bowers? No, but I think the most responsible thing to do for a quarterback that it seems like took you forever to find is to now protect him. Because when you protect someone that has arm talent like him, not to say we couldn't use all the playmakers in the world, he can make certain playmakers, certain people around him better, and they need to be top tier.
What Tannehill could not do, yes, exactly.
He can elevate the level of players around him. So I think that's their number one priority is
and that's why I'm honestly not going to be so depressed if we take a tackle this go around, because it's not a situation like before where we got Ryan Tannehill where we have to pry and pray that we can get every fucking weapon on earth around him to give us the potential to win. When you have guys that can do it all, and again, I'm not anointing him. He's got a lot of work still to do, and that's something that we all need to realize, okay? The kid's got a lot of work to do. Just because we've never seen a talent like him wearing a Titan uniform at quarterback, doesn't mean he is the answer, because there's some things he needs to work on. But boy, oh boy, all the signs are pointing in the right direction, and he can make players around him better. And when you have a quarterback that can do that, protecting him is even more important. So that's why I'm going to be all in on Joe Alt, 100% happy if we can land him. He's a rah-rah guy. He's a for-the-boys kind of guy. He seems like a guy that, wants to win at all costs, and that's what you need. You need everyone to have Will Levis's mindset, and if you can find 53 guys that have Will Levis's mindset, they will win a fucking championship. They will, and I believe 110% they will. It's all about the drive. It's all about giving everything you have on every single play, and the quarterback needs to be the guy to promote that kind of attitude for the rest of the team. So, I'm excited. I'm hyped.
So real quick, Sal, you missed last week's conversation with Treylon Burks. I said that, you threw his jersey. I was totally out on him. What happens? Like, did Mike Vrabel and Todd Downing and Tim Kelly, you think, really ruined Treylon Burks? Do you think Brian Callahan comes in here and says, you know what, we're going to use your skill set and what you're really good at, and we're going to try to make him go in this offense this year? If that's not the case, looking at the wide receivers now, are you guys okay with like a Gabe Davis coming here? Are you okay with a Tyler Boyd coming here, a Curtis Samuel? Who are you going to target besides T. Higgins, besides Mike Evans, to build around with DeAndre Hopkins? Or are you going to put all your chips in the basket in the second round or the first round and draft a young wide receiver?
Well, first of all, I think that Treylon Burks is just a little lazy. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think he's all in. I don't think his head's there.
I tend to agree, but I think Brian Callahan may get those gears turning, and he didn't like the offense that we was in. I don't know.
Of course, we're all human beings at the end of the day.
That's why we all have opinions, yeah.
If we don't like our boss, we're not going to perform at our best ability. So if he didn't like fucking Mike Vrabel, again, I'm not trying to pile as much shit on as I can, but I'm trying to give or best case scenarios as to what's possibly going on. I mean, we know the talent's there. We've seen him moss guys. We know the size is there. We know the route running is there. We know the strength and ability is there. He's just not consistently putting it all together. Could a coach be the key to unlock that? Knock on wood, and fucking hopefully it is. But in my humble opinion, the kid's had numerous amounts of opportunities to make plays, get open, find a way to get the ball, and he hasn't done it. So I'm about over it. And he's had some drops he could throw in there at the end there. Just not the best collective tape to finish the season. But I don't want any of those middle tier guys. Honestly, we've been doing it too long.
You need to get somebody.
No, we don't.
You're not gonna go after NWI because he's a free agent. So who are you replacing him?
So
who are you going to replace him with?
It's simple. You got two big boy free agents with a lot of potential to grab them. I know. First of all, another thing people need to realize: yes, the Bengals can franchise them, but they got a lot. They still got things they need to do. They got positions they need to fill. That team is obviously Joe Burrow being hurt was the main reason why they were out of the playoffs, and what's his name did a decent job keeping them in the hunt, but that's not a perfect team by any means. Okay, they still have some things they need to correct. And they also already have a superstar receiver. So just to think, yeah, we're absolutely going to keep our number 2 receiver as a franchise tag. That's not a guarantee by any means. So I'm not giving up any hope on getting T. Higgins in 2024. If it ain't him and Mike Evans, then it's got to be receiver. You know, you need to build young talent at receiver now. So getting guys in their 5th year that have a little bit of success, I'm done with it. We've done it a million times before. We have DeAndre Hopkins, who's still performing at the highest level he can. We're going to figure out what's going on with Burks. We're going to leave him or keep him. And we got either take somebody in the draft or go get T. Higgins or Mike Evans, who's got plenty of juice in the tank. No more of this fucking bullshit with these middle tier guys.
But this is, I totally agree with you because this is the way the NFL is going. And Vin, you're going to get in after this. But like building around a quarterback, it's so tough because we need that left tackle. We need that young wide receiver. Everybody, to me, is surrounding their young quarterback with talent on the outside. So to me, that's like Neighbors, Odunze, Keon Coleman, somebody to pair with your young quarterback for 4 or 5 years. So now if they go after a T. Higgins in a trade or a tag and trade situation, you're going to have that 5-year lock with him. So I'm all about – I don't know. So when it comes closer, that's how crazy, our mindset is week to week where we fall in love with all at the tackle, but we want to say, hey, he needs somebody to throw the ball to. And what you're saying, Sal, and what I'm saying too was – Treylon Burks isn't him, so we need another guy because DeAndre Hopkins has another year on his contract. So who the hell is he going to be throwing the ball to in the near future when he's gone?
It makes too much sense to do what me and Vinny have been saying and do what the fucking Texans did last year with Stroud and Anderson Jr. You go get whatever guy that's available at 7, and you trade right back fucking up. You go offensive lineman, wide receiver, or vice versa. Those are the 2 biggest holes you got.
We need to figure out
for both.
I got to look it up for next podcast that we do. I want to know what the Texans gave, who they trade with. I want to know what they gave up to come right back up.
The Cardinals. They traded with the Cardinals,
yeah,
and they swapped picks, I believe, and then
they gave a first.
They gave
a next year's first.
This year's first.
Yeah.
I would do that in an absolute heartbeat.
Of course.
For next year's draft, 25's draft.
Yeah.
Take that first rounder and get the lock wide receiver and get the lock left tackle. Come right up.
Done. And then every other dollar, every fucking cent you have can go towards O-line depth, could go towards cornerback depth, could go towards defensive tackle, which we need more help at defensive tackle, folks.
DJ Reader's a free agent. He came from Cincinnati.
We need a lot of D tackle help. We're fucking soft up the middle.
Yeah,
besides one fucking player. Well, listen. Yes, Autry. Nothing.
We don't know if he'll be back. We don't know if he'll be back.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Maybe one of the best free agent signings of the past decade for the Titans, without question.
There's a lot of guys out there right now.
We got here, thankfully.
So the Cardinals received the 12th pick, the 33rd pick, and a 1st and 3rd round pick in 2024. So the last year they got the Cardinals got the Texans' 12th pick, the 33rd pick, and then this year they're getting their 1st and their 3rd in order to move back into the top 10. Listen, I think there's a chance that happens.
2 first rounders then.
Yeah, so basically 2 first, the 2nd, and a 3rd.
Yeah, no, that's a lot. I don't
That's a
know.
lot, and it is possible, but because I think it's a little far-fetched, you can also see them going the traditional route of if they don't get a receiver that they really want in free agency, I don't think they really overspend on anybody. I think the logical thing to do is if you don't get the guy that you want, no matter who it may be, and to answer your question, no, Jarett, I really don't want a Gabe Davis type player. I would take Tyler Boyd on a 2-year, $18 million deal, $8-9 million a year, I think is fair because when he got the chance to be a number 2 last year when Higgins was out, I think he played well. And if he can be more of a focal point of passing game, I think he can produce. That being said, if they don't go receiver in free agency, there is a chance that they do go the conservative route, go tackle at 1, receiver in the second round, and come in with your DeAndre Hopkins, Xavier Leggett, or Keon Coleman, and Treylon Burks, because I don't think you're moving Burks. You're not going to get much for him, and you're paying him next to nothing. So they can also say the conventional route.
Yeah,
maybe go hard after someone like Snead, re-sign Autry, allocate their money in free agency there, and then on the offensive side, go draft a tackle at 7, second round, draft somebody else. I mean, a receiver, and go in with, like I said, Hopkins, whoever you're drafting, Treylon Burks. Could end up being a formidable receiving core, but to trade all that to move back into the top 15 is a lot, and you really have to hope you hit.
well, yeah, I'm looking at it now. It was only one first rounder because they got number 12. That's what that means. Yeah,
They
moved up.
Yeah, they got 12. They gave up 33 and a first for third this year. So if that's all it is, fine. Sign me up. If somehow fucking we take Alt at 7, which the more I think about it, the more I believe he's probably not going to be there at 7. I think that's a pipe dream, realistically. I think Marvin Harrison and him are going to be literally 5 and 6. I think they're legit going to be 5 and 6 in front
of the Giants are not taking a tackle. And neither are the Chargers, in my opinion.
Their O-line is real bad, man.
Evan Neal looks pretty bad.
Well,
they're not going anywhere with Danny Dimes, so
no.
Yeah.
If it's not receiver, it's going to be tackle.
We'll see.
They need a receiver, and they need tackle help. Anyway,
bad receiver.
My point is,
if Olt's not there, means that Ola should 100% be there, which I think would be the next best move. Or who knows? Maybe they go next best available, and they have O'Dunes.
If O'Dunes is there at 14, give up next year's first, go get him, and now you got left tackle, left guard, and a fucking receiver for 5 years. 5 years.
I mean,
first contract.
Unless they get Higgins in a sign and trade and they give him a
do
big
all that.
deal.
Do that too. Do that too. Then. Do it. Do it all. Why not? Why? Tell me why not?
Yeah, listen, it's
definitely possible, man.
Yeah, but if you wanted, Higgins, O'Dunes, and then we'd end up with him, Hopkins, O'Dunes, and Higgins. Yeah, I mean, shit.
Pipe dreams, Jesus God.
Yeah. My God, I'm getting.
But what I'm saying is, in free agency, I don't really see us offering anyone other than Higgins, and it's because he's young, a huge long-term deal. Yeah. Evans is on the wrong side of 30, and he still killed it, sure, but I don't think you're going to commit 4 years and probably $25 million a year to him. I'd rather them go with Higgins, a younger guy, along with maybe, if that doesn't work out, a Tyler Boyd at a lower rate on a shorter deal, or go receiver in the second round and roll with Hopkins, whatever receiver you get, and then Burks, because everything else, sounds great and we love it, but like Jarett just said, that's a pipe dream and a half. But I think it's the most logical thing. I think they allocate a lot of their assets on the defensive side of the ball in free agency, re-signing Autry, going after a big-time corner. We could get out of the Hooker deal, so we might be completely out on safeties. We might need to go after a safety. So I think you're going to see us spend heavy more on the defensive side and rely more on the draft to address the offensive side.
Yeah.
We'll see. There's a play. Hey, listen, and we'll find out soon. But free agency starting 3-4 weeks?
Literally 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're going to see the direction of this team.
Yeah, we'll have much more to talk about.
Tampering is March 11th.
Yeah, when it comes to the draft, we'll have much more to talk about there and a more realistic idea of what we're going to do because we'll see how we, what happens in the first few days of free agency.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to see the whole direction change come March 11th, 12th, and 13th, and the 13th at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock Eastern time. That's when it all starts. So, guys, buckle up. 3 weeks away from seeing what the hell they're going to do with all that money. The draft, I mean, not the draft. What the hell? The salary cap went up by, I think, $8 million. So now we're going to bump up to $80 million. Yeah, we're going to bump up to $80 million. There's going to be cuts. Diller's going to be gone, so there's going to be more cuts too. So we're going to have close to damn near 90 to maybe $100 million. I mean, not 100 million, but maybe $90 million we may have with some cuts. So we'll see.
Hey, listen, the train's rolling, and that's the good news. This team hasn't done one thing I've been disappointed about since Brian Callahan was brought in. So I've been a happy camper. I haven't complained. And now we gotta trust that the people in charge are gonna do the right thing. The new regime is gonna draft well. They drafted relatively well last year. I think that's an understatement. No, they drafted really well. They got us a quarterback. They got us a running back, and they got us some nice pieces. We can't complain with Carthon's year one. And we know he had to deal with Vrabel too for that year too. So now there should be more unity, hopefully, with him and Brian, and everything's pointing up. I can't wait for the next domino to fall. Combine's going to be nuts. I'm going to be glued to it since I'm going to be home during the day anyway. So I cannot wait. That's it, guys. I mean, we got to wrap up for tonight, but as always, we appreciate everyone joining on. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hit that little notification bell so you know when we're live or when we're uploading our videos. And next stop on our list here is going to be the Combine in a couple weeks. So it's
got some mock drafts coming up. We're going to be doing so.
Mock drafts.
Let's see who's actually right. Who's right. What we're going to do here.
Yeah, I'm excited. I got so much more faith in Rand Carthon than I do in John Robinson. And it's funny. I went to my dad's yesterday, right? Yesterday? No, Sunday. And we watched Mike Vrabel's original introductory press conference, and it's really eye-opening. And I would recommend anyone listening to go back and watch it and listen to some of the things this guy said. And just looking back on it, even though it was only 6 years ago, just a lot of things that just really were bad things to say as an introductory press conference of a coach, and everything he said he did, and they weren't really good things. So, and it was just complete opposite with Callahan. So I'm really hyped. I don't know you guys are too. So anything else you guys want to throw in before we close out for tonight? That's it.
Man. I'm glad that I don't know when's the last time us three were together, but
a couple weeks
before the
Super Bowl,
Vegas.
For Super Bowl.
Yeah. Never thought I'd be so happy to be joined by your two mediocre faces.
Oh my gosh. Speaking as a true jealous man of my looks, I would have. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh yeah, I wish I could steal a little bit of your height. For everyone that doesn't know, Sal is like pushing 6'3". We don't know where they found him. Probably adopted from somewhere. And,
probably. My mom is tall. My mom is almost 6 feet. Yeah, she's almost 6 feet.
Yeah. I'm 5'9" with 3 pairs of socks on. So we'll say, if I was in the NBA, I'd be listed at 5'10". But really,
shit, I didn't know they stack shit that high.
All right, we'll leave on that note.
Little Full Metal Jacket reference right there.
All right. Chat, I hope everyone has a phenomenal rest of their week. We'll catch you on the flip. And one more thing before we leave tonight. The tits, baby! Juliana, send us out.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Talking Titans on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.